Hi everyone, Georgetown Soaps here. I am excited for this video because it's going to be an experiment. When I first started making soap, they told you to wrap it in a towel, insulate it, make it gel, leave it there for 24 hours, and then cut it. And then as I got more and more advanced, other people started saying, no, stick your soap in the oven. It will warm the soap up and it will help the soap evaporate more water more quickly. So CPOP, it's called cold processed oven process. So what you do is you basically make your cold processed soap and then stick it in the oven. There's a couple different ways people stick it in the oven. Some people will stick it in the oven and just let it sit, and they don't turn the oven on, they don't turn the oven off, they just let it sit there for about 24 hours. The soap does naturally warm up, so the oven will become warm, especially depending on how many loaves of soap you put in. So what I used to do is I would make several batches, stick it in the oven, turn it to 170. As soon as it hit 170, I turn it off. And then I would let the soap sit there for 24 hours. And typically, if I had 4 or 5-pound batches in the oven, the soaps would actually, and the oven would still be warm. So the theory is that because the soap is still warm, you're speeding up gel, you're forcing more water to evaporate, all of that, yada, yada, yada. Well, as I started making more and more larger batches of soap, I was running out of ovens. Even with like a double wall oven, I could still fit about 6 on the top and 6 on the bottom, so 12 5-pound batches. But then your oven's tied up for 24 hours minimum. And as I moved my soap stuff out into my soap shed in the backyard, I was going to have to walk the soaps in, put them in the oven, walk them back out. Not that that's that difficult, but it just adds a little bit more time to the process. So what I'm doing here, I made 1 2-pound batch of soap. I used my regular recipe, regular additives, regular ingredients, didn't do anything special. Did everything as normal. And so then I'm dividing it out into 2 1-pound batches. And I wanted to use the same recipe. I didn't want to make 2 individual 1-pounds because I wanted to make sure that the soap was exactly the same. I didn't add a little bit more sodium lactate in one. There wasn't a little bit more rice bran oil in the other batch. Sometimes you weigh it out and you're a little over, you're a little under. You add a little bit more kaolin clay to one batch. I wanted to make sure everything was even. And so with this, I'm noticing that I didn't quite have enough. So I'm going to go back and make sure that each of the 1-pound molds are exactly even by weight in the mold. And when I went back and scooped it out, it was off by like maybe 0.005 ounces. So as far as I'm concerned, it was essentially the same weight of the soap. So then what I did, I took 1 mold and I put it in the oven. I turned the oven on for 170, which is the kind of the lowest setting for my oven. Turned it on, put the soap in, turned it on, walked away, and came back 20 minutes later and turned the oven off. I kept it in the oven for 24 hours. And then I took the other loaf and I just put it on the kitchen counter. So it was just going to be kind of at room temperature. It's, chilly. It's fall in Washington, D.C., so, my house temp is probably around 70, maybe 65, during the day. Who knows? So here I am, and sorry, you can't really see the measurements on the scale, but I was measuring it out, making sure that the soaps were exactly the same. I kind of don't want any variables affecting the soaps. So once I've got all this done, I go in, put this 1 soap in the oven, and then put the other one on the counter. And I will be back for the cut, and I will explain to you what happened at the cut. Okay, so I got my 2 loaves to cut. This first one is the one I put in the oven, so that's the CPOP one. And then I took bar 1, bar 2, bar 3, bar 4, and I weighed them all. And as you can see, the weights are essentially the same. The first 2 bars for each of the loaves, they're off by 0.05. So to me, that's not a big enough difference to really worry about. So what's going to be interesting is I'm just going to keep measuring out bar 1, bar 2, bar 1, bar 2, bar 3, bar 4 for each of the loaves weekly. And in theory, the soap should be ready to sell 4 to 6 weeks. I tend to let my soap sit for 2 to 3 months when I can, and I have that luxury of time. So I'm just going to keep measuring and weighing out the soap, and we will see. My soaps are typically 4.5 when I sell them. They could be a little bit over, but I'm just going to keep measuring each bar every week just to see what the actual weights are and to see if CPOP really does speed up the curing process, i.e. getting more and more of the water out of the bar of soap. And keep in mind, I do a water discount. I do a 2 to 1. So I'm already working with a smaller water discount to begin with. So anyway, make sure you subscribe to my channel and make sure that you stay tuned and keep an eye on my channel for updates, and I will update you as to the weights of all the soaps. Thanks so much for watching and subscribing. Have a great day.